If the noise in your house makes your brain fog worse, but you still have work that you need to do, you don't need a quieter house. What you need is a nervous system friendly productivity plan. Let's get started.
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
There can be a very specific kind of exhaustion that comes from living in a loud house. And it's not just physical noise. Sometimes it can be things like questions or being interrupted, emotional spikes, ADHD energy where everyone's just jumping and bouncing and getting all their energy out. It can be a kid being dysregulated. It could be you being dysregulated. It's just this constant input that is bombarding your sensory system. And if you are living with chronic illness or chronic symptoms on top of that, chances are high that your nervous system is already at a lower threshold because it is already maxed out. So what you may notice is by 10 a.m., you are feeling foggy, you are feeling overstimulated, you're irritable, you're cranky, you're exhausted, and you cannot think straight. You also probably have no motivation to get anything done. And then you might notice that shame starts to creep in. Why can't I focus? Why am I so tired all the time? Why does this feel so hard? Before we go any further, I want to say something important. If this is your everyday reality and you feel like you are constantly reacting instead of leading your day with a plan, you don't have to figure this out alone. Inside my one-on-one chronic health coaching sessions, we build a nervous system friendly plan around your real home, not the pretend or the ideal version of life, but your actual life. We look at your energy, your triggers, your kids, their schedules, their routines, and then we create small adjustments in your habits in order to help you to begin to feel healthy, to feel better again. So it's a 1-hour session. It's very simple, no pressure, just clarity and a plan. If that's something you would like to learn more about, you can go to ashleybraden.com/coaching, or I'll have the link down in the show notes below. Okay, so tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You finally have 30 minutes of quiet and you are planning to either switch out the laundry, start dinner, make a phone call, answer an email. Maybe you're going to clean up the kitchen. Just do some kind of a little reset with the house. And within 5 minutes of getting started, someone is talking, someone's pacing, someone's asking for snacks, someone's wanting you to watch them do something, they need help with something, maybe they are fighting, maybe they're melting down, maybe they're humming the same line of a song over and over, maybe they're having a great time, but they're just being loud while they're doing it. You try to keep going, but you can feel your shoulders are tensing up, your jaw tightens, you are starting to lose focus. It's kind of getting to the point of, oh my goodness, what was I doing? What am I doing now? You stand in the kitchen and then suddenly you can't remember why you walked in there, what you were going to do in the first place. You felt like your mind was clear and you had a plan 5 minutes ago. Now you're just standing there with no idea what to do. And that part can honestly make you feel like something is wrong with you because it's not like it was a hard task. You already knew what you were going to do. It was something simple. So why does it feel so hard? You might think, why can I not handle this? Why can I not focus? It seems like other moms can handle the noise. It seems like my house is louder than other moms' houses. Why am I so tired all the time? Here is what is happening. Your body is on alert, not because you are weak or because something's wrong with you, not because you're unmotivated. It's because of the constant input you're getting, the constant sound, questions, jumping, playing. Like I said, these aren't all bad things. A lot of these things are really good things. They are your kids having a wonderful and joyful and happy childhood, which is great. But it still is an input into your nervous system, into your sensory system. And, having those emotional shifts that might happen in a home with neurodivergent children as well, it can be really taxing on your body, especially if you are already dealing with your own symptoms. So your system is just not getting a break. Instead of thinking clearly and being motivated, you shift into coping and shutting down because your body is already at its limit and it's saying, I can't take any more hard tasks. So I'm going to shut down. I'm going to just cope and get by with what I can for right now. It doesn't want to, your brain does not want to prioritize productivity when you're in that state. It's going to protect itself. So that's why you're going to feel unmotivated, exhausted, burned out, can't think straight. It's not because you're failing. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you are constantly overstimulated. So let's talk about a few different ways that we can begin to work with our homes, because our homes are our homes. Our children are our children, and that's perfectly okay. We love our kids. We love the blessings that they are, but let's talk about ways that we can still feel like ourselves again, feel like our old selves, to begin to feel better again, and how we can get things done and be productive with the actual home that we have. Okay, so I'm going to share with you today, I believe, 5 different ways that you can begin to do this. Okay, the first one is going to be parallel play productivity. So, a lot of times when we think of like parallel play, we think of like something for toddlers, and it really is not. It can be for really anyone of any age, because it just simply means that you're going to do your task near your child or someone else while they do theirs. So instead of waiting for quiet, you work inside the noise. You say, okay, this is my real life. This is what my kids are doing right now, and that's perfectly okay. How can I figure out a way to work with this? How can I basically be productive alongside them while they play? So if they are building Legos, if they're coloring, if they're doing schoolwork, playing on the floor, playing outside, you stay in that same space, but you do something productive that fits in the environment that you are in. For instance, if I want to do my exercising, when my kids go into the backyard to play and I'm going to hang out with them, I will often walk, because that's letting me do something that I want to do that's going to be productive to help me to feel better, but it is appropriate for the environment that I am in. If you are wanting to sit down at your laptop, then maybe while your kids are at the table playing Legos, you could bring your laptop in there and do some work at your laptop at that time. So we want to do things like that. Again, the key is we're doing things that are appropriate for the activity that our kids are doing, and also for the environment and the room that we are in. So things like this could be, folding laundry at the table while your kids, like I said, play Legos or do schoolwork. It could be chopping vegetables while they play in the kitchen. It could be sorting mail while they draw, wiping the counters while they are running around playing, doing their own thing. And the great thing about this is you are still there. You're still present. It's not like you're trying to hide in another room to force focus. You are just also lowering the chances of interruption because you are already right there. You are already present. So think about it this way. This is not about like trying to cram in, I've got to figure out a way to block out 2 hours to be productive totally on my own. Now, if you have that capability, that's amazing. But we're talking about when you don't. How can you fit in these things that you need to get done when you don't have 2 hours to block out to totally focus? And the thing I like about parallel play is that, no, it's not going to stop the, hey, mom, look, hey, mom, watch this stuff. But it can often decrease them just because your kids feel your presence. You're right there. They can see you. They can hear you. So they don't feel like they have to fight as hard for your attention, because it's not like you're off in another room. Okay. The second one is body doubling. And body doubling just basically means it's 2 people doing separate tasks in the same space at the same time. So in your house, especially when we're looking at like a parent-child relationship, especially if you have a child who might struggle with being dysregulated and things like that, body doubling can really be good at helping to co-regulate your children as well. So what this might look like would be saying, I'm going to unload the dishwasher for 10 minutes and I'm going to let you work on your math homework or your math schoolwork. So let's set a timer and see how much we can both get done in those 10 minutes. So what I like about this is, and why I say it can really be helpful in co-regulating with your kids, is because not only are you body doubling, you're both doing 2 separate things at the same time in the same space, but you are also modeling to them how they can have a routine, how they can block out set amount of times to focus on the work that they need to do, and then also how they can structure their day in order to get things done. And again, we're looking at, you are still there. You are still present. Oftentimes as kids, they look to their parent to help them to regulate. So you are giving that nervous system regulation to them, especially if you are regulated as well. For instance, let's say your kids aren't that young, they're older. Then what you could do with an older kid is you could say, I'm going to fold some laundry right now, And how about you clean your room while I do that? We'll both work on this until the timer goes off. I do like timers with my kids because, for my kids anyway, it just seems like having that timer with an end goal in mind, they do really well with that. Instead of like this endless, like we have to do this whole job. And I mean, isn't that so relatable? How many of us, if you have a giant task, how many of you, including me, procrastinate on it because it feels like it's going to take so much longer than it actually does? Whereas if I look at that task, for instance, I have a dresser in my bedroom that we just moved a bunch of stuff on it, and I just needed to deal with it. But every time I looked at it, I thought, I do not want to deal with this dresser because stuff has just been piled on it. And I finally said, okay, this is not going to work. I cannot do this, and I'm not going to realistically block out 30 minutes to deal with this dresser, even though really it wasn't going to take that long. But in my mind, that's what I was thinking was going to happen. So instead, I said, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes every single day, and I'm going to start just chipping away at the stuff that I need to deal with. And it was mainly the reason I didn't want to do it is because it was stuff that I didn't know where I wanted to put the stuff that had been piled on there. So it was like that extra mental effort. So even for myself, I use timers, especially if it's like a task like that I really am just dreading. I just tell myself, okay, do it for 5 minutes and just start making progress. So that's why I love doing the body doubling with your kids, but also doing it with a timer. And it really creates that consistency for them. It helps them to know what to expect. I find that with my kids anyway, they seem to be a lot more willing to do the job with a good attitude if there is a timer set, because it does have that end point that they can clearly distinguish in mind. Okay, the third thing is going to be noise control. Now, I get it. This can be tricky because, like I said, your house is your house. Your children are your children. We have a loud house, and I'm okay with it, but there are times whenever I do get overstimulated and I do have to take a step away or figure out a way to just help my sensory system to kind of settle down a little bit. So we know that we cannot stop the noise in our house. And, like I said, more often than not, it's our kids playing and having a good time. So we don't want to stop the noise. We want them to enjoy their house. We want it to feel like a home. But how can we soften its impact on you, on your nervous system, on your sensory system, all of those things? Because that constant sound can really drain your energy really fast. And it's not you being sensitive or, dramatic or anything like that. It can just be a response of like, oh my goodness, this input is overstimulating me and my nervous system cannot handle it. So here are a few things you can try. You could do soft earplugs while you're cooking or cleaning. I like looking at things like the noise dampening earplugs, so you can still hear what's going on around you, but it helps to kind of diminish that sound that's getting into your ears. There are, like on Amazon, they have the loop earplugs. I think there's flare as well. Those are an option. You can consider playing like white noise or brown noise playing in the background. That can kind of help, in my opinion, in my experience, is it really helps to just calm everyone down. But also it can kind of help to dampen some of those really sharp sounds. Like if you have a child who's like shrieking because they're playing or something like that, it can kind of help to dampen that. Some of my favorite sounds are like any kind of water sound, like thunderstorms, rain, waterfalls, stuff like that. I find it soothing personally. And then another thing you could do is you could just have like a time in your day. Maybe it's 30 minutes where it's like, we're going to dim the lights and do a quiet activity, like after lunch or in the afternoon after we get home from school, whatever your schedule looks like. But it's just giving you a little bit of space for everyone to allow themselves to just calm down, settle, kind of reset from whatever's been going on already in that day. And it's giving you a little bit of space of quiet as well. Now, this might take some time and some consistency and practice with your kids, but I think that is a great idea you could try. Okay, so think about it this way. Even if you can reduce the amount of noise and input that you are getting by like 20%, imagine how much longer your brain can stay kind of active without shutting down. It could be enough to finish the dishes, to prep dinner, to answer an email, reset the living room, all of those things. And the great thing about this, again, we're not avoiding the kids. You're just making sure, okay, I'm here, I can still hear them, I'm engaged, but I'm going to figure out a way to make the sound, the volume in this house, not have such a big impact on me. Okay, the fourth one is working in short work block sprints. So, especially if you're home with your kids, if you're working from home with your kids, Or if you are working from home and you have kids in school, but they're there in the afternoons, you don't really get to function like you would if, for instance, you were working in an office space where there are no children there. So, you can't expect yourself to say, oh, I'm going to be working for 2 hours straight with no interruptions. It's probably not realistic unless your children are just not there with you. So instead of doing that, focus on just picking one task, setting a 15-minute timer, and then work until it goes off. Then take a 5-minute reset. Check on the kids, see if anyone needs anything, look in their eyes, make that eye contact with them so they feel that connection with you, and then see if you can repeat it again and go again. This could be 15 minutes of laundry. It could be 15 minutes of cleaning. It could be 15 minutes of paperwork, 15 minutes of dinner prep. If you are actually working, it could be maybe 15 minutes is not long enough. I know for me, I can't do just 15 minutes of a work block, but 30 minutes, an hour, and then I'm stopping, checking, making sure everyone's okay, that type of thing. I also plan my work around, typically my bulk of my work around when my husband is home. But there are always ways to work around that. And I'm not necessarily, when I'm saying like set the 15-minute timer, I'm not necessarily saying if you have a job that's what you would do. But when we are looking at productivity in your home or in tasks that you want to get done around the house, I do think setting a 15-minute timer and then taking a break for 5 minutes also can help you to continue to stay motivated. But it gives your kids that connection point. Every 20 minutes you're checking in on them, seeing if they need anything. Like I said, making that eye contact, that connection with them. So this will really help to build momentum without overstimulating your nervous system, but also causing you to do that procrastination, kind of like I shared with my dresser story, because it just felt so overwhelming because I didn't know where I wanted to put the stuff. So it was just easier to procrastinate. And I did that for several days until I realized I'm never going to make progress on this unless I just set a timer. And I needed to start with 5 minutes because that was honestly what felt doable to me, that didn't feel overwhelming. And it's okay. If it's not 15 minutes for you, if it's 5 minutes, that's perfectly fine too. Okay. Then the last thing is going to be to identify your personal dysregulation triggers. So it might not be that noise in general is what is overstimulating you or causing you to feel dysregulated and overwhelmed. It could be like a high-pitched sound that maybe a child is making or like a fan is making or something like that. It could be whenever someone emotionally escalates. It could be that you are being interrupted mid-thought. It could be that you're constantly being touched, or it could be the unpredictability of your schedule. So I want you to kind of take a minute and think, and this isn't something you could probably answer right now, but like as you go through the next week, begin to think about it and realize and put those pieces together. What is it that is actually causing that kind of tipping point where I'm feeling overstimulated, I'm feeling dysregulated? And what I like about this is once we name what that is, then we can make a plan for how to deal with it. So for instance, if that high-pitched noise is a trigger, using those noise dampening earplugs could be a great way to help with that. If constant touch is your trigger, then maybe you go and you schedule like, hey, I'm going to take 10 minutes of just sitting by myself somewhere quietly, no touching. Like, hey, kids, you guys all go play and give mom 10 minutes to herself. You don't have to tell them not to touch you, obviously, but you guys go play and give me 10 minutes to sit here quietly. And giving yourself that reset before you go and start like a task or really engage with your kids, something like that. And what I like about this is that when we become aware of what is causing the problem, then we can begin to look for solutions to change. Also, it can really help us to stop feeling guilty or maybe even ashamed about the fact that we are getting dysregulated or we are feeling overwhelmed, because we can put a name to it. We can say, okay, now it actually makes sense why, I've been being touched constantly, and now I understand that is what's bothering me, and that makes complete sense. So how can I give myself a 10-minute break where I'm not being touched and see if that can help me? And it really is a great way to move forward. Like I always say, I feel like there are always options for things we can do to make a situation better. So looking first and identifying what's going on and then figuring out a way you can make it better, that is, in my opinion, just the best way to handle these difficult situations that we often face with life, with our kids, with parenting, with all of that stuff. Okay, so Instead of asking yourself, why can't I get things done, when you have these thoughts of feeling like you're not productive enough, feeling like you're overstimulated, overwhelmed, all that stuff, what if instead you got curious about what is actually causing that feeling? What's causing you to shut down? What's causing you to go into protection mode, to just like, I've got to just make it through, and really not being able to engage? And if we can get curious about that, then we can begin to implement these things that we know are going to help with it. For instance, the parallel play, or the 15-minute work sprint. Maybe you're figuring out the different tools and resources that you need to help to kind of manage whatever that trigger is that's really setting you off, or you're trying body doubling. So those are some different ideas that you can try. And the thing I like about this is that they're just these little small shifts that we can make that are easy to stick with, but also as long as we do them consistently over time, they really do begin to make a huge impact on how we feel, on our nervous system, on our ability to handle the stress of everyday life. Okay, I would love to hear from you. If you try one of these out and it goes well, or if it goes horribly, or you have another idea that you want to try out, I would love to hear how everything goes for you. Come join us over in our Facebook group and you can share there. I will share the link down in the show notes below for that. And that is all for this episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you back next time.
Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.